Today we're doing a gear review at DJL Vintage Audio, home of MegaTone amps. We're here in the Tone Lounge, and I'm going to do a review today of a one-off amp that he's done, which is basically like an upgraded, or I should say updated version of the MegaTone Vintage 30 that I did a review on my own YouTube page. First we'll get into the specs of it, and then we'll get into the things that make this one an upgraded or updated version. It has 2 6L6 power tubes. It's running at around about 40 watts. It has two 12AX7s. It has a 12AT7 in the phase inverter section. And in the input stage, it's using one EF806 preamp tube. Now, the EF806 preamp tube is a preamp tube that they used in the early Vox AC15s, and I really feel like that is the mojo, or the main ingredient that gives this amp its unique voicing. Now we'll get into some of the things that he did that are a little bit different on this one than mine. This amp comes stock running a tube rectifier. The original Mega 30 that I own came running a solid state rectifier, but was already wired to where you could put in a tube rectifier. I like the sound of it with the tube rectifier better. The difference was, though, is this one is actually built to do that from Jump Street, so it has a different transformer in it, and it's running a higher plate voltage, which allows you to use the tube rectifier and still maintain the full 40 watts. As with my Mega 30, once I went from solid state rectifier to tube rectifier, there was roughly about a 10 watt drop between tube rectification and solid state. So that's one of the upgrades that they did to the amp. The main and most important upgrade, I think, that they did was the addition of a mid control. Now, on my review, that was the one thing that I had mentioned. I said the only thing that I could think that would make this amp better would be possibly a mid control. Well, lo and behold, this one has a mid control in it. And what they did was, instead of having the bass and treble control like the original one had, this one has a mid control and a tilt. Now, the mid control operates exactly how you would think a regular mid control on an amp does. Now, the voicing of the mid control is not the same as maybe like your traditional Fender mid, but it works very well, and I think it goes a long way in adding to the flexibility of the amp. Just as a point, case in point, with the mids dialed at about halfway at 5, that's what it sounds like. You dial it all the way up to around about 10, but the magic is when you're playing clean and you dial that mid all the way back down to 0, you get, and you've got everything in between. So I really like the sound of that. Personally, I like it on 0, because then you get the. It just gives it, to my opinion, when you can dial the mids back a little bit, when you get a little bit more control on the mids, you allow yourself to be able to almost add a little bit of an acoustic quality to your clean channel. Helps it to sound just a little more, a little prettier, a little less abrasive, a little less aggressive. Now, coming over from the mid control, at that point you have a tilt, and what the tilt does is, to the left you're increasing bass, and to the right you're increasing treble. And at 5 o'clock it's pretty much flat, which is where I'm at right now, is just 5. If I were to move it over 10, it'd be, there's your sparkle. And move it back over to 0, you're back up to 5, back to midway. Oops, sorry, that was the wrong knob. Bring it back up to midway. And actually, I think we're going to leave it more about 6.5. The next one over is your drive control, and it does exactly what you would think it does. The drive control just adds the filth to it, you know, the grit. We'll come down. I was in the middle position. We're going to come back down to the bridge to show the drive function. And we'll take the drive. That was on 6. Now we'll take the drive up to around about 8. It has a nice little bit of growl to it. Now I'm going to dial it back, so I want to show you a different knob. We'll come back to the middle position, show this, which is the gain knob over at the very beginning. Now to me, and this is not the technical explanation, but to me the gain knob adds a little bit of aggression, a little growl to it, but it adds more body to the signal. Like this is with the gain knob all the way to the left. Which is good. Actually, I'm going to show you that on the bridge because you can hear how much body's adding with the treble pickup better. But if you crank that up to about halfway, that becomes. When you bring it over here to about 3 o'clock, you get. Hear the difference now? So just personal preference, I like that. And then of course you have your volume, which is just, you know, just your volume knob. And then of course, also built in, he's also put in that awesome tremolo circuit that was in the Mega 30 that I did the review of. And that is a really, really good sounding tremolo circuit. I love the one in mine, and this one sounds identical to it, and it sounds awesome. another couple of features that it shares with mine is that it does have the low and high inputs, which are located on this amp, just located in the rear. The reason why it's located in the rear is the thing that makes this thing the coolest is it is made out of an old 1940s era Masco Sound Systems P.A. head. And what he did is he just gutted it and redid everything on the inside, point-to-point hand wiring, the whole nine. It looks awesome. So that's why a lot of the knobs on this one are in the rear as opposed to like mine that were in the front. Another really cool thing about this amp is, as I stated on my product review, that's a very uncompressed, very natural sounding amp. And one of the best things about something like that is it will clean up or respond dynamically to your playing even when pushed by, you know, a distortion pedal. What we're going to use today to add a little bit of filth to the signal is the Range Max Performance Booster, which is a pedal also made by DJL Vintage Audio, and I also have a review of that pedal on my website. But anyway, enough of plugging myself. Was just manipulating the volume knob and controlling my how hard I was digging in with the pick, and you can get that much dynamics out of the amp with, you know, just a little bit of control and not a good pedal, and that's always good. Not sure if I remember to mention that it had the cabinet voice line out. If I did, these were, you know, don't pay any attention to me. I'm really on stages of all-timers. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, that is this one-off amp. So I'm Gillen H2O. This has been Gear and Review. We've been shooting this one here in the Tone Lounge at MegaTone Amps. Definitely is a cool place. If you ever get a chance, come down here and check it out. You can see all the really cool amps I've got here behind me. And come check one of these out. It's pretty cool.